And we welcome you to the latest edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. This is episode number 8, I do believe, in our football podcast odyssey, if you will. As always, On the Hash with Hatfield is on our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, available on virginiapreps.com, as well as on our Facebook feed with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex and our Twitter at 757 Sports Talk, or X as they call it, at 757 Sports Talk. A lot to do here in this episode. We'll go through the power ratings here in just a little bit. We'll reveal our Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. And we will be hearing from Antoine, Bethea, the former NFL Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion with the Indianapolis Colts, who played with the Cardinals, played with the Giants, played several different places, and of course starred right here in the 757 at Denbigh High School. He's being recognized tonight here on a Thursday night over at Todd Stadium in Newport News, halftime of the Denbigh and Menchville game. And in fact, Todd Stadium in Newport News is the site of a big monster showdown taking place between undefeated teams, the Phoebus Phantoms and the Warwick Raiders, which we'll preview later on in the show. And a lot to go over with you here. Let's start off with the power ratings, though, as they are out for the last 2 weeks of the regular season forthcoming. We'll give you some quick thoughts on those. We'll spend a little bit of time on the 6A, the 5A, and the 5B, and then 4A and 3A. Really, the 5 regions we'll focus on, but we'll start off with a couple of these regions here, beginning with 6A right now, as the power ratings have Thomasdale at the top, followed by Highland Springs. Then you have Manchester and Glen Allen, all Richmond schools at the top in the top 4 seeds. Remember, they could take 8 to the playoffs for most regions. A few regions out there take 6. And then 1 through 4 host the first round, top 2 host the next round. Then you have the region championship Thanksgiving weekend. Lansdowne, Western Branch, Grassfield. Keep an eye on that Western Branch Grassfield game this week, because that could be a deal where the winner is going to get to the postseason, the loser not going to make it. Cosby's upset of Huguenot last week created a little bit of an interesting look at things there in the 6A picture. But favorites are coming out of Richmond. I know Oscar Smith took the loss last week, which we'll get to in a second, from their game with Kings Fork. The playback interview coming up here with JaVon Ford, the star running back for the Bulldogs, but it's looking like Oscar Smith may very well open up on the road if they can't catch and pass Glen Allen for that number 4 seed. Glen Allen, coached by a former Tiger standout and Perry Jones. In 5A, you've got at the top Green Run, no surprise, unbeaten with that explosive offense. Cox, Indian River are your 2-3 seeds at the moment. Tallwood's got Green Run this week. Key game for them. Salem, 4-4. They've got Kellum, which will be a tough one there. Deep Creek has responded from that early season loss to Currituck. They're in the 6th line right now for the time being, but Kempsville's nipping at their heels. Big one for Kempsville on the road at Cox. Bayside holding off Kellum by just a whisker, despite the fact that Kellum beat them. Marlins beat Ocean Lakes last week. Dolphins need some help to get in, which would include an upset of Tallwood to end the regular season, and the teams below that with very little chance to get in the postseason. We'll show you the Region 5B power ratings and then get to our clip with the winners from last week in the game of the week between the Kings Fork Bulldogs and the Oscar Smith Tigers. And Maury is right now at the top. They've just been smashing people in the Eastern District, and they played a tough schedule to start things off. Then you've got the Bulldogs unblemished. Warwick with that tough matchup coming up with Phoebus. They're in the 3 line, believe it or not, at 9-0. Hard to fathom. Nansman over at 4, the 6 seed there. I'm sorry, it's the 4 seed there at 6-2. How about Granby? A big win for them, coming from behind. In fact, against Norcom last week. Menchville, Bethel, Kickintan. We might give you a chance to hear from Kendall Jefferson as well before we sign off here on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Kickintan trying to hold off Norview and Woodside for that 8 seed, which does not give you a lot of, I guess you could say, cachet or much to brag about, because your reward is probably going to see the Maury Commodores in the first round of the playoffs in Region 5B. But game of the week last week in the rain, it wasn't as big a crowd as we expected. The weather certainly had a factor with that. And we're talking about Kings Fork hosting Oscar Smith. Bulldogs now just 2 wins away from their first unbeaten regular season in school history. And they have a chance for that because of JaVon Ford, who was just a monster running the football for the Kings Fork Bulldogs. And we caught up with JaVon after the team's win in the newly established little media room they have over there at Kings Fork High School in Suffolk, which we were glad to catch up with him and discuss things. We also had Anthony Joffrey on. If you missed our conversation with Coach Joffrey on, it's available on our podcast page from the 757 Saturday Sports Talk program we give you every Saturday with yours truly and the coach, Ed Young. But let's now hear what JaVon Ford, the standout running back, had to tell us after his team's win here on The Hash with Hatfield. All right, I'm here with Kings Fork running back JaVon Ford, the junior running back with 44 carries for 235 yards, new personal highs with 3 touchdowns as the Bulldogs outlast the Tigers tonight in a thriller. All right, JaVon, coming in, this is always a big anticipated matchup against Oscar Smith. It's for Southeastern District supremacy. Give me the mindset and how you feel after you pull it off in the rain and the muck and the tough battle.
That was a tough game to be fought, but throughout the game, we just really wanted the dub to do some history at Kings Fork. We never really won a district title here. It'll be the first team to do it, and we had to do it tonight.
They know it's going to you. You know it's going to you. The last drive when you go, I think 16, 17 plays for 70-plus yards. What's going through your mind through some of those tough moments where it's 3rd and 1, 4th and inches? Look, you got a first down, and you know you're going to have 3 or 4 guys just hitting you even when the play's done.
It's all about who won it more. At the end of the day, who's going to show who won it?
How bad did this team want it after last year? They came in here and beat you, and it felt like it was a game where you outgained them and outplayed them, except for some mistakes on your own end. Did you guys learn something from that? And also, did you learn something from the double overtime games you had with Nansman and Indian River here a few weeks ago?
Finish and keep your head up. You can't just think the game over with just because we're up now. We got to keep going next play.
Mm-hmm. I thought your most impressive run of the nearly 50 attempts tonight, which is still hard to fathom, there was a 3rd and 1 play, I think it was around midfield, where you got stopped at the middle and you wiggled out of it and got to the outside and got a first down. Do you remember that play at all, and how big was that? Did you feel like you demoralized them at all a little bit? I know they came back on you guys, but was that a big play in your mind going through? And maybe what was the biggest run for you tonight?
I think pretty much everyone I put on the board, for the team. That's really it. I appreciate my linemen for really making it open for me. Without them, I couldn't do none of that tonight.
Now, how different is it to run in the rain than just normal conditions? Do you get a little more amped for that? How do you combat it as a competitor?
Oh yeah, it's really more exciting because you know the ball coming to you and you know everything is on you. So what you gonna do at that tough moment?
You go over 1,000 yards on the season tonight. You came in with 954 yards, so you do the math, and you're closing in on about 1,200 yards. You got a chance to get for 2,000. A, what would that mean to you? I know it's a team honor when you get things of that nature. And B, when you hear about running backs that were great here like Deshaun Weathington and you're chasing some school marks, what does that mean to you as well?
Really a blessing. I'm really like a step closer to what I've really been wanting to come do in high school all my years is break records.
Mm-hmm. Oscar Smith scores that touchdown. Travis Johnson, 80-plus yards from Lonnie Andrews. Ball's coming back to you at the end of the game. What's going through your mind here as they're coming back? No panic at all? You guys have been in these tight situations?
Man, adversity hit every play for us. We just going to have to respond well every time.
Mm-hmm. Last two for you. What's different about you and your running style compared to your freshman and sophomore years? What elements have you incorporated or changed or altered in your own game as you're progressing here and getting towards the playoffs?
Finishing my runs, after people touching me, I can't get tackled by one person. That's kind of embarrassing.
Okay. And lastly, 3 TDs tonight. You guys win this. You stay unbeaten. I know the goals are always to win every game, state championship, but in terms of this team, continue to get better. What are the things that you guys are highlighting to get there as the playoffs are close?
Go 1-0. Don't look too far ahead. Next week, I think we have Deep Creek. Just look on for them. Our goal is December 9th.
That's the stud for Kings Fork, JaVon Ford. He might be our player of the week next week, too. Stay tuned. Congrats on the win. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that was JaVon Ford. What a performance to get that done against the Oscar Smith Tigers. I can't recall a running back, at least lately, having a 200-plus yard game. There have been backs that have run for 35, 40 times. They go back to a former Kings Fork Bulldog, an Oscar Smith Tiger, who went to Virginia Tech, and J.C. Coleman, who had a big game in a state playoff. There's a lot of backs from the smaller levels, the Class 3, Class 2, Class 1 level, that'll get a bunch of carries in that way or shape or form. But in this particular game, Kings Fork needed every one of those rushes for him, and he really grinded out some tough ones as he's now over 1,000 yards on the season running the football. And he looks to be one of those candidates to lead Hampton Roads in rushing as well as the Southeastern District. And I think he's going to be up there for some consideration in terms of the recruiting rankings as being a 4-star level player. There's a lot of good backs in the class of 2025, and certainly coming to mind are the likes of Gideon Davidson, who is a Clemson commit. You have Harry Dalton, who's the quarterback at Dinwiddie, who runs the football. Jeffrey Overton at Freedom, who was the state player of the year in Class 6 a season ago. And, of course, now JaVon Ford is right there in that conversation with the best of the best when it comes to those that get it done week in and week out. And speaking of which, Our Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week, it is JaVon Ford. It's well-deserved for him as he had those 44 carries for 235 yards on the ground, 3 rushing scores, 21 rushing scores on the year for nearly 1,200 yards, 21 grabs, 240 yards in the TD. So that means coming your way, JaVon, should be a voucher, a free Chicho's Pizza, thanks to our friends over there at Chicho's. Southeastern District players have gotten this honor this year before. Al Kendrick Overton of Nansman River got it. Also is going to get a plaque from our man at Virginia Trophy, Bruce Pearl. We thank him for that. And Malachi Hinton got it last week from Indian River. And the week before that, it was Travis Johnson, the wide receiver from Oscar Smith, who had a dazzling game-winning touchdown catch from Lonnie Andrews to close out the game against Indian River a couple weeks back, and Johnson actually had a big 81-yard scoring reception in this matchup with Kings Fork. But Ford is starting to become an even better back, and as he becomes, as he mentioned, just that tough finishing runner in games, he can elevate Kings Fork to new heights. So JaVon Ford is our Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week, and I think he'll be up for player of the year consideration when you look at the district, regional, and perhaps state level. Class 5 Region B, though, is awful tough. I mean, you've got Warwick with a defense that hasn't given up a touchdown all year, Moy with an offense that's scoring around 70 a game, and they have about 7 or 8 guys that could be up for player of the year, and Ford is the engine for that Kings Fork Bulldogs team. And his offensive line has done a really good job for him these last couple of years. And in this game, they were fine, but Ford really did some things even beyond the blocking to just keep the chains moving for them on offense in a game that was a muddy type of defensive struggle at times, and he was the difference maker without any doubt. So kudos to JaVon Ford, our Chicho's Pizza 757 football player of the week. We're going to take a time out here from a couple of our sponsors. Then when we come back, we'll be catching up with Antoine Bethea. He, formerly of Denbigh High School, they're recognizing him at halftime in the matchup between the Patriots, looking for their first win of the season, and the Menchville Monarchs in Newport News. Going over there, you got time to get there for the 7 o'clock kick in the halftime presentation. It is On the Hash with Hatfield here on our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. We're going to hear from that sponsor that brings us the 757 football player of the week. Right now, we're talking about Chicho's Pizza.
Of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down.
They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter. That electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade, rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar, IV hydration and vitamin therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Let's start here. What's this recognition mean to you to have your jersey retired, number 4? You know how the history goes in the Peninsula District. We could spend an hour on all the greats that have come through to 757. You've competed against some players that have gone on to the NFL and done great things like yourself. It has to be pretty special.
No, it is, man. Anytime you're able to get recognized, especially be able to get your number retired, man, it means a lot to me. Obviously, my peers, as you mentioned, a lot of talent to be able to that has come through the 757, the PD, the Peninsula District, as it was called when I was playing. But it's definitely a humbling experience, and I'm excited.
When you look back to your beginning days of football and you're growing up and Pop Warner, flag football, those type of things before you even get to the high school ranks, what were the things that motivated you and inspired you in this game? Because you have a pretty neat journey as far as you weren't the big ballyhooed recruit, and there was a bunch of them in the PD. I mean, you go back to the days of Ronald Curry and Michael Vick and so many others that have been pre and since then. What kind of drove you to be the success story you've been?
Man, I think obviously, I think just growing up, my big brother Alexon, man, he was guy that I looked up to. He was big bro, so from us starting on Fort Eustis and him going to Denbigh, and then me, going to Denbigh after him, and I was known as Lil Lex. So it was just him, just watching him, watching him play football, play basketball, that's what it was. But when he was in school, he was going against the AIs, the Tody Rutledge, the Aaron Brooks. And at that time, man, it was just a hotbed of just dogs, you know what I mean? And it was just one of them things growing up. It's like, I just want to be a part of that. And as I grew as a preteen and a teenager and getting to the sports, playing football, and you always talk about just how much talent was around the area, man. And I just enjoyed the competition level on all different levels, man. And, being able to see guys in the neighborhood and just talking trash. That's just what drove me, just being able to have those bragging rights, even if it was in the summertime and, we playing ball, going to different cities, going to different courts and just talking trash and just being able to have that back and forth with the guys, man. But at the end of the day, it was just a competition level, man, and just being a competitor and just wanting to go out there and be the best that I could be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you played basketball too at Denbigh, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine some of those battles, not just on the gridiron, but on the courts, were pretty fierce. And as you mentioned, a lot of friendly banter or junk talk back and forth during those PD rivalries, whether it's a Newport News School versus Newport News or Hampton versus Newport News. And as you're all trying to get to the playoffs and get that shine, right?
Nah, no doubt. And that's what it was about. It wasn't, hey, I'm just playing football. Back then it was 9 times out of 10, your best players on the basketball court was on the football field and vice versa. So, it was all in good banter, but, it's always good when you can talk trash and just, and just have fun with it.
I love the fact that you went to Howard. You went to a different route to get to the National Football League, because I think kids today now, especially covering recruiting like I do with VirginiaPreps.com, part of the Rivals Network powered by Yahoo Sports, we do a lot of different kids that are trying to be 4 stars, 5 stars, that type of thing. And, once you get to college, those go out the window. Speak on just what that part of your journey meant to you and how you stayed with that belief that I can go play in the pros one day and have the story you did coming from HU and being a 6th round draft choice.
Yeah, I think for me, me growing up, I wanted to go to the NBA, right? Like that was my goal. It was like I wanted to be the dog on the hardwood and go to the NBA. Shout out to Coach Rod. He was my defensive coordinator. He coached me basketball as well. And it was funny, just talking to him to this day. He was just like, look, I know your mom and your dad, like, you're not about to just grow 7 inches. You know what I mean? And he kind of helped me focus on football. And again, my head coach at the time at Denbigh High School, Coach A.C. Cawthorn, that ended up going to Howard as an offensive coordinator, was one of the big reasons why I even got to Howard. But I look back and was like, that was my path. That was meant for me, because just looking back, hey, look, it's good to get those offers from those Power 5 schools, but Power 5 isn't everybody's path or everybody's journey, right? So you look at it and you, like, as you know, scouting, parents, players, I get it. You know, you want to play on national TV. You want to go to the VTechs, the Miamis, the Ohio States. But for me, it was like, if I can go somewhere and get as much film and get as much tape as I can possibly get a free education, get a degree, like at the end of the day, that's a win for me, right? Now, if you're able to go to the NFL, man, hey, God bless you. But to be able to go somewhere and play ball, that's a dream come true. So a lot of times, these young kids, they get caught up in going to these big schools where, hey, if you go to a JMU or Howard or Hampton, Norfolk State, or not a Power 5, you still get that much film. You get that much more film. Where you go to a Power 5, you might only play a year or two. So again, man, it's pros and cons. And then when you tap into the NIL now, I get that as well. But even the kids and the parents that I've talked to today, I say, look, there's so many different paths that you can take, and you got to take a path that works for you. And don't think about what the outsiders are going to say when you make your decision.
Well, as a 3-year starter at Howard, 309 stops, 187 solo tackles, ended up being a Black College Football Hall of Fame Player of the Year in 2017 before the Colts take you in 2016. And you're right there in that pantheon of great safeties from the 757 names like Kenny Easley, Cam Chancellor, yourself. We'll talk about Cam in a second, because I remember seeing you not too long ago in that Cam Chancellor celebrity basketball game. But, Antoine, every player I think that makes it to the professional level has a breakthrough moment or defining turning point, be it on or off the field. It could come high school, college, pro. What was it for you? Was there a moment you look back on that really sticks out as far as your journey and accelerated that and really, was a big deal for you?
I think it was different parts of my football career. I say in high school, starting varsity, my 11th grade year, playing a little bit my sophomore year, but my junior year, really started, to turn some heads. Obviously, we had a lot of guys in the PD at that time, especially. So probably got overlooked a tad bit, but that's cool. Then my senior year, I had another good year. But then again, just playing the position that I was playing, middle linebacker at the size I was, I knew I wasn't going to be playing middle linebacker at the next level, and scouts would come in and say, hey, look, it might not work. That's fine. But when I got to Howard, I would say probably my freshman year, game 7, we played Norfolk State, and that was kind of like the first game I got, some decent time. And I feel like that was a big time for me, because I really understood at that time that I could really play. And fast forward to my sophomore year, the second game of the season, I got my first start against one of our rivals, Hampton Institute, and I probably had one of my best games that I ever had.
When you look at the pro journey, obviously Super Bowls, that's the pinnacle. When you do that with the Colts and that group with Peyton Manning, and it's funny, that year, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're part of a defense that Bob Sanders was on that defense, right, with you in the defensive backfield. A lot of people forget about him. They think about, obviously, Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed as two of the pinnacle safeties, if you will, at that time, and they were awesome safeties, obviously Hall of Fame level talents. But you all were, I think, dragged through the mud basically when you had a game against the Jaguars who ran all over you. But that wasn't maybe in people's eyes the best Colts team. Tell us about just what that was, that brotherhood and bond to win a Super Bowl like you all did. And it was more of an unexpected one when the Colts had some years, having to bang their heads against the Patriots and Tom Brady and some others in the AFC when they were thought to win it. And that ended up being the year where they did win it. And you guys got the ring.
Yeah, man. The year prior, when they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, walking into that locker room when I got drafted, they really thought that the year prior was their year. And it was, you had Edgerrin James, and you had obviously Brandon Stokely, Harrison, Reggie Wayne. You just had a lot of talent on that team. And I was just fortunate enough to be able to walk into a situation as such, just a great organization from top to bottom. And they welcomed a young boy from Howard with open arms, man. And like you said, like that's the pinnacle when you're playing professional sports, is to raise your respective trophy And you call yourself a champion. So for me to be able to do that my rookie year, coming from Howard University, a 6th-round draft pick, I tell people going into training, really OTAs, I was the number 6 safety out of 7 on the depth chart. So it was just all about the grind. Put your head down and just go out there and do what you can do, man. But again, if it wasn't for the coach, man, I just don't know if my career would have turned out like it did.
Well, there's a lot of statistics that jump out about your decorated playing career, Antoine, but the thing that really grabs me, and 2 of my favorites all time in the basketball ranks that never got rings were Karl Malone and John Stockton of the Utah Jazz, who were durable Iron Men that played 82 games. You played 7 consecutive seasons where you started all 16 games. Tell me about what that takes in terms of preparation of the body, because I know there's a lot of kids out there that they want to go play in the league one day and they might not understand what it takes to do those type of things. And is that one of the things you're most proud of? Certainly, to have the lengthy career you did, it's got to be something that's up there, but to play that many games and not have to miss a game, because nowadays the injury reports are crazy in the NFL. Every week you turn, you've got quarterbacks out and defensive players, skill position guys. It's hardly ever you see guys play 16 games in a season anymore.
Nah, man. That's something that I held my hat on, and we talk about it is like your best ability is your availability, and then you just know, and at that point you got good players all across the roster. So I never wanted to be a situation where I'm not on the field and give somebody else an opportunity to show how good they are and take my spot. So I just took pride in being there for my teammates, being accountable. And just considering myself one of the leaders, I just needed to be out there. And I hated watching the game from the sideline. So to be able to say, look, it was a 7-year stretch where I didn't miss a game at the safety position when the game was a real physical game, man. Of course, that's something I'm proud of.
If you were playing now, how different would it be where it seems like every week we're seeing flags thrown, you can't hit guys in certain areas? Would it be an adjustment at all for you? And has the game changed much since you hung it up, which was only about 3-4 years ago?
No, it definitely would be an adjustment. It was an adjustment even towards the end of my career where they were really focusing on, the helmets and things of that nature. But you gotta move with it as a game move, or if not, you're gonna get left behind. So the rules are the rules, whether you like them or not. But again, the game is different from when I first came in 2006, where it were a lot more fullbacks. The running backs were bigger, and it was a lot of that, power game. So you had to bring your neck roll. We had to make sure them shoulders was right week in and week out. But again, the game has changed in a different way now, where you even when I came in the league, I was 205. I was considered a small safety. Typically those safeties were 215, 220, where now the game is more so shape where the safeties have to be able to guard the receivers and tight ends and things of that nature. But game has changed, man. I still love the game. I'm a fan of the game, and I love watching it.
A few more minutes here with Antoine Bethea, the Denbigh High grad that started at Howard, then in the NFL, was a 3-time Pro Bowl or Super Bowl champion, as they're recognizing him with his home and away versions of the number 4 jersey at halftime at Todd Stadium this coming Thursday night. The Denbigh Patriots take on the Menchville Monarchs. Going out there and support Antoine, one of the 757's finest, to get it done. It is On the Hash with Hatfield here on the podcast, and we'll finish up with what Antoine's up to these days and get his thoughts on some other things in the world of sports, if you will. But Antoine, as you look at the time with your time with the Colts, which was, as you mentioned, really memorable, you then go to the 49ers, a little bit of a change in teams, but right away you get 4 interceptions your first year there. You play all 16 games. In my brain, I wasn't around you to see it, so I'm thinking it's like you reinvented yourself again. You talk about that transition from linebacker to safety when you get to Howard. Tell me about just a new team and fitting in, because you were able to have that staying power. A lot of guys go to a new team and they're seeing the end of their career. You sort of extended it. How'd that happen?
Man. I had a chip on my shoulder. I felt the type of way, the way I departed Indianapolis. So, when I went to the 49ers, I obviously I wanted to show the coach that they made a bad decision with not bringing me back. But again, man, every time I go out there, I just want to play the best ball that I can possibly play. And going to that San Francisco team, I knew their defense. was lights out. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, one of the best that ever do it. So I just wanted to go out there and do my thing, man. And fortunate enough for me, after I left Indy, I was able to play 6 more years in the league, 3 wonderful years in San Fran. Our record really didn't indicate, a great time, but I enjoyed my time out there in the Bay Area.
We all, whether we're, in the workspace, playing professional football, whatever you do, we have coworkers, teammates we like, we don't like. I ain't going to ask you to name the ones you didn't care for, but tell me about some of the teammates that had the biggest impact on you during your playing days, whether it was with the Colts, the Niners, the Cardinals, or at the end of the Giants.
Man, I would say a lot of those guys played on the Colts just because, I was a young guy. A lot of those guys just welcome me with open arms. Robert Mathis, another HBCU alum. Gary Brackett, remarkable story of walking on at Rutgers and becoming a captain. Reggie Wayne, even though we weren't teammates, but, Ezra and James, he was even after he left the coast, everybody spoke highly of him and just his character. So now, his son is at playing at Howard University. So our connection is there strong as well. And then, when I went to San Fran, everybody knows what Colin Kaepernick did. So that was a very impactful time in my life, being able to be in the locker room and see it firsthand. So those are like some of the guys that, impacted me in different ways.
And you were in San Francisco. Correct me if I'm wrong, because he's now coaching now as an assistant at Oscar Smith, and I covered him when he played in high school at Ocean Lakes. You were a teammate of Eli Harold, right? At that time, another 757 dude. Yep. I'm sure that's still a big deal everywhere you go. The 757 guys that grew up with, maybe it came before you, after you. It seems like those 3 numbers sort of follow you everywhere you go in life, doesn't it?
Nah, I mean, I love it. You're talking about Eli Harold, but then sure, I had another Denbigh grad, graduated from UVA, Chris Peace. We were teammates as well. So regardless, wherever you go in this world, you talk about 757, everybody got to, they got to put respect behind 757, whether, you're talking about Texas football, California football, Florida football, Pennsylvania. If you say 757, everybody know, all right, he's a dog, so, but it's always good when you can see your brothers from the 75 going out there and doing their thing and just living out their dreams.
I've asked this other pros before, being in football, basketball, baseball, track, whatever sport is, because we got guys and gals winning medals in track and field too. Did you know growing up that was revered like it was? And was there a certain point or time where you said, wow, we do have a lot of guys that are making it at the pro level, and it's cool to be a part of that exclusive company, because it is a lot of people, but it's still an exclusive list, and it's less than probably 2%, if you will, of those that do play the game to get that opportunity.
Yeah, like growing up, I did not, just because, you were just in the area. You were just in the area, so you seen the, the Joe Smith, the Alonzo Mournings, the AIs, and Bruce Smith's, LT. So you just like, okay, like these are people from this area, and that's big too, because you can see it like, okay, they're from the same area, so they made it. I have a chance to make it out too. But as you grow and as you get older and you start to travel more and you start to visit different places and you start to have these conversations with different people, then that's when the light comes on and be like, yo, like, okay, our area is a little different. Like based off of what you said, just how small our area is compared to others, but the names that hit from our area, it's a little bit more impactful just because it's not as big as those other states that I mentioned. So man, it's a big honor to represent, because when you all on that national TV, you're not only doing it for the name on the back of your jersey or the emblem on the side of your helmet, you are doing it from like your hometown. So it's always good to be like, yeah, I'm from the 757 and I'm representing the right way.
Well, it's always good to see you all support each other, whether someone's helping out with a cause or an event you've got. I mentioned you were at Cam Chancellor's celebrity basketball game where I'm taking pictures on the baseline, and I've never done this in my time, but I had to get a selfie with my guy Larry Fitzgerald, one of my favorites that play wide receiver. He came out and supported all the way to Norfolk, has no connection to it, and I see just so many different stars. Marshawn Lynch is there. You're there, guys that played in the 757, other greats, and you still had some basketball moves, if I recall, out there. You were doing some things out there in the court. You weren't maybe your prime Antoine Bethea playing this, but you had some moves. And so as I bring that up, tell us what you've got going on outside of this recognition coming coming up on Thursday night. What you're involved with? I understand you're an owner or part owner with a sports bar in the area, and you're doing some stuff with scholarships with Newport News School. Tell us a little bit about that if you can.
Yeah, I'm owner of District 41 Sports Bar. We've been open since 2018, man. That's been dope, just being able to provide jobs for people in the community. Obviously when COVID was going through, man, being able to provide families with lunches, obviously, that's an important part of a child's life, going to school, and they're banking on that lunch at school. So when they weren't going to school, man, so it was good, man, just being able to have some in the neighborhood that you grew up in. Also, I have the Bethea Family Foundation. As you mentioned, we do scholarships. We offer scholarships to students that's going to a 2-year, 4-year institution, man. We've been the foundation been going since 2010, man. So even with that, man, we're doing some good things in the neighborhood, in Newport News, and in the 757. So be on the lookout for a big time announcement coming up, hopefully sometime soon, that we're in conjunction with the city of Newport News. I have my own podcast, the Man Your Man podcast. We're live on YouTube Monday mornings from 8 to 9 with a former teammate of mine, Darius Butler. I'm doing some sports analyst, color analyst stuff for HBCU Go. We're trying to give the HBCU student athletes the recognition, exposure that they need as well. So just staying busy, man. And obviously, my beautiful family, not three beautiful children that I'm running behind day in and day out, man. So I'm staying busy.
That's awesome. You got to stay active with the kids. I've got a 7-year-old niece I have to chase and get at the bus stop, and she runs me ragged. So I can relate in that sense. Don't have any little ones of my own, but it's like you treat them like they're your own, and nieces and nephews and cousins, things like that. But that's awesome that you're doing all that and so many things in the community. And you're always welcome to come on this show and be a guest. We look forward to getting you on again sometime soon. I'll get you out on this one, Antoine, and thank you so much for your time here. A little bit extended over time, what we had promised with you. But you still following the game of football, be at the pro level, the college level. And I know your high school here with Denbigh, even though they're going through some hard times, they've got a guy that's well respected, and Tommy Riemann leading the way at the helm for them. And it goes back to the days of Mike Tomlin, who's one of the best coaches in the game right now, Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's a lot of pride over there at Denbigh, right?
No, for sure. Regardless of what we're going through, man, it's grind and grit over at Denbigh, man. I think that's something that we always held our hat on as well. Like, regardless of what's going on, man, we're gonna grind, we're gonna work hard. And shout out to Coach Riemann, like you said, he's a legend in the 757. And for him to be able to come on and tackle. It's a project. Tackle this project and get Denbigh back to where it used to be, man. Has my full support. Shout out to Coach Tomlin, always doing his thing. In Pittsburgh, has his guys playing really well. Now I don't know if a lot of people really expected that, but you can just tell by his leadership and what he's done for the Steelers through his tenure, man, that his guys are always going to come out and play well. So I'm excited to be back in the 757 tomorrow. Obviously, see the Denbigh Patriots take on one of our longtime rivals, Menchville. So I'm excited. I'm excited all the way around.
Yeah, don't let David Macklin talk junk to you, please. I've talked with David before. He's a former Menchville guy, Penn State, great dude, played in the NFL many years, played with the Cardinals for a little bit there too. So always a pleasure, Antoine. Thank you so much and enjoy it. Congrats. It's well deserved for you getting this recognition at Todd Stadium. We'll see you over there.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
That's Antoine Bethea, the former NFL Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. He started at Howard also in the 757 at Denbigh High in Newport News. Going out there Thursday night, 7 o'clock is the kickoff with the Monarchs and the Patriots halftime presentation for number 41, Antoine Bethea. We'll take a time out and hear from a couple of our sponsors and come back with more to finish up this latest edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. Stay
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall? Peak what?
Peak fall.
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back.
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it. Peak fall achieved. DQ, happy tastes good.
And we welcome you back On the Hash with Hatfield. We talked about the world of high school football in the Hampton Roads and beyond. We appreciate talking about his career in the National Football League. Is up for you in the 757 area code at Denbigh High School in Newport News. Then at Howard University, coached the Colts, the Giants, and the Niners, and my Arizona Cardinals. You see, I'm a Arizona fan. Diamondback, World Series, here we come. We'll have the World Series gear the next time we do this show. We'll actually probably be hopefully in the midst of a battle with the Texas Rangers in the Fall Classic. But a lot happening in the world of high school football as we'll go through some of the matchups that are going to be taking place here coming up this week across the 757. We'll also go through some of the power ratings here in just a second that we did not hit on earlier. But one coach that we also spoke with over the weekend, it was a tussle in Portsmouth between the Norcom Greyhounds and the Granby Comets. We're going to preview that matchup with Phoebus and Warwick coming up on Saturday in a showdown in the PD. But let's catch up with Kendall Jefferson. He's probably the Coach of the Year candidate. In fact, as we bring that up to you as far as Coach of the Year candidate, it's our question of the week that we wanted to get in last week, and we just ran out of time for it. So I want to get some feedback from those out there. If you had one game to win right now, head football coach in the 757, who are you choosing? You can go a lot of different directions, whether you want to pick Doree McCain at Maury or you want to pick Anthony Joffron at Kingsport, Chris Scott, Oscar Smith, Jeremy Blunt, Phoebus, Corey Hairston, Warwick, Brendan Williams, Green Run, Hank Sawyer, Lake Taylor, one of the legends in the sport, Andy Lynn, Lafayette. List goes on and on and on of candidates. You can pick certainly coaches around the state if you like, outside of 757, like your Mickey Thompson at Stonebridge or Lauren Johnson at Highland Springs. Litany of coaches you can go through. But let us know what you think. I think Jefferson's definitely in that conversation for Coach of the Year here in the 757. So let's hear what he had to say, how he's turned around the 6-2 Comets as they spoiled the homecoming for the Norcom Greyhounds. It's On the Hash with Hatfield. All right, I'm here with Granby head football coach Kendall Jefferson. The first-year head man leads the Comets to a 13-12 win in Portsmouth of the Norcom Greyhounds to spoil a homecoming for them. Great turnout, coach. A very fierce battle. Your defense, their defense. They're driving down into the field, but you get 2 sacks to end the game. Sort of a strange finish to the ball game, but how's it feel to get this W tonight?
Man, it feels great. Down 5 starters. Down 3 linemen. These guys stepped up and pulled together, man. I love these guys, man. They fought through a lot of adversity tonight.
Tell me about just the way your team was able to overcome the penalties. You had 16 flags today. You had some red zone opportunities, but you huddled together in that last scoring drive for you, led by Christian Post on offense for you. You had a better mix, I thought, of run and pass balance. Was that kind of the thing, trying to find your identity in this ballgame offensively? Or?
Yes, it was. We shot out knowing that we were down 3 starting linemen. So we already knew the run game would probably be a little shaky today. So we came out looking to throw the ball a little faster, sometimes more on first down, and try to open it up a little bit. And it worked.
3 starting offensive linemen?
Yeah, 3 starting offensive.
How do you compensate for that? Because I know it takes away a lot of what you do offensively in terms of screens, quick draws, but you had some success with the option game, especially with Christian keeping it at times.
Yes, and we've been telling them all year, they're not respecting him. They don't respect him pulling it, so the DNs are playing on discipline every game we play against. We've been telling them, like the game winner he had weeks back, the pull was always there because they're loading up to stop JaVon.
We've highlighted JaVon Ford, Christian Post, Amon Cuffey, Shanique Wright for your two receivers. I'm not sure enough people know how good Cameron Harris is for you on defense. He makes some big tackles today. I think he's about, 30 tackles for loss this year?
30. He had the lead. He came in this game with 28.
Okay.
87 tackles. So he probably about 100 tackles right now.
I know he had a key tackle that might have brought them a yard short on fourth down earlier.
Yeah.
How big was that play to kind of give you some more juice knowing the clock was ticking down?
Man, he was first half. He was a little upset because he wasn't making the plays that he thought he should have been making. He pulled it together. His linebacker coach got in him, made him a little angry, which helps him out because when he plays angry, he played the way he played in that second half.
People look at the numbers in this game. They say Granby wins 13-12. Did Norcom lose it more than more? But you got an ugly, gritty win. How much does that help build the character for these guys to have to dig deep and win a game like this with the injuries and the perseverance, if you will?
I mean, blowouts, when you blow somebody out, it's always easy. Everything looks easy when you blow somebody out. You kind of see where the heart is in your team and if people willing to step up when it gets down to nitty gritty. And I feel like we didn't have a couple of games like this to show that our guys are ready for those type of games.
You've had some similar moments this year. That comeback we saw in week 2 against Kickintan. You had the blowout of Lake Taylor, which surprised a lot of people. The close loss to Churchland. What did you learn about your team today that you didn't learn in those instances, which are also some turning point moments, if you will?
Honestly, the things I've learned today, it wasn't really nothing I learned. Honestly, it was more that it just reassured what I knew I had. I knew I had a hungry team. I had a team with a whole lot of heart and a whole lot of love for each other, and they were going to fight to the end regardless.
Last two for you. Some of those things to improve on and grow from, get better at, but to get to 6-2, you've secured a winning season here for a school that have won 2 games the last 5 years. That has to have some extra meaning. Plus, as you look at your playoff bracket where you've got undefeated Moy, undefeated Warwick, undefeated Kings Fork, some Giants, this helps you get closer to that 4-5 game in the first round, which is probably a better draw potentially.
Yeah. We've been looking at the playoff picture. I feel like at the end of the day, 5B is stacked. So whoever you play in the playoffs against us, you're going to play somebody that's tough. So, I mean, whatever draws happen, it happens. If we got to play, we're going to play. It don't matter.
Lastly, you get this one here on a Saturday afternoon in Portsmouth. Great atmosphere. It's got to be another building moment for you as you get this program going here in year 1.
Oh, yeah. Coming, like I said, away at their homecoming, all this hype going on, all this energy from that sideline. I mean, I feel like I said it was good for us because it goes to the playoffs. So we know in the playoffs we might be on the road anyway. So getting used to being on the road against a hostile environment was something that's going to help us out.
The turnaround continues for Coach Jefferson. The comments 6-2 and moving forward. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
What a job for first-year head coach Kendall Jefferson. Comets win a game against the Norcom Greyhounds that didn't look like they were going to win. And Christian Post at quarterback has been very, very solid and efficient, shown some ability to move out of the pocket. JaVon Ford running the football. Amon Cuffey has been a two-way dynamite playmaker, should get all Tidewater, all state, all region accolades when it's all said and done. Cameron Harris on defense has been very, very, very productive and important to their success. And Granby's going to have a chance to get in that 4-5 game with Nansemond River, looks like, in the playoffs. And who knows, maybe even have a chance to pull another upset there. They will have more to close out the season after their game coming up here this week, which will be no easy task for the Comets when they take on the Commodores. But I think this one they've got coming up against the Manor Mustangs should be a victory. Both Coach Young and I and our picks that we'll have on VirginiaPreps.com have Granby taking that. As we look at some of the power ratings there for 4A, Phoebus and Warhill at the top, Churchland, Hampton, Smithfield. You're going to see some teams under 500 like Gloucester, Manor, and possibly Jamestown if Denbigh doesn't catch them, believe it or not, in win list for that last seed in 4A, which has taken 8 of the 9 schools, believe it or not. Norcom is not eligible for the playoffs, which is unfortunate, but I know Anthony Hawkins trying to keep his guys upbeat as they'll have a boatload of players back for next season. Matthew Alton's a really good one for them, the junior wide receiver who made some things happen. Return game, special teams there, catching the ball, and also in some packages when he runs the ball on the outside. Norcom's got Lake Taylor this week. That's a game that we thought we might have a disagreement, Coach Young and I, but we both have the Titans taking that one. A couple of disagreements we do have this week consist of, as I look at the picks right now, Beach District game. We didn't disagree on any of the Beach District games. I thought we might have a disagreement with Cox, Kempsville, Cox, Kempsville, Salem, Kellam, a couple of the toss-up games. Not one of our disagreements, though, believe it or not. We do differ on Woodside, Gloucester. Coach Young's taking Gloucester. I'm taking the Wolverines, and he's taking Bruton to beat Poquoson, as I've got PHS winning that one. Speaking of PHS, that is the Phoebus Phantoms PHS as well. Taking on Warwick, and believe it or not, they come in having given them just 8 points all year, one of which was a intentional safety. One was a touchdown that Coach Jeremy Blunt is adamant should have been offensive pass interference against Hampton. And they have, the last few years, the best defense in the state, hands down. Although Warwick has not given up a defensive touchdown in 9 games. A couple of keys in this game. How will Warwick block the front of Anthony Reddick, who's committed to Maryland, Tayshawn Stevens, who's committed to Old Dominion as the defensive ends coming off the edge? You also got Deshaun Richardson and Nathaniel Anthony as kind of the versatile D tackles that can move around. You got linebackers like Caleb Tillery, Brendan Thompson, Najee Gay. But I want to see how the Phoebus secondary covers those Warwick receivers, because Julio Character, former Phantom, Mike Galeen, Keon Batts, they can even throw Messiah Delome out there receiver. The Warwick pass catchers have made some things happen throughout the season. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 of those pass catchers. They're pretty deep at wide receiver, can play 5 or 6 different guys there. How they will handle them is going to be interesting for me to see in this matchup. But also, in addition to that, I want to see how the Phoebus offensive line deals with the Warwick defensive front, which I think is, as great as their defense is, unheralded to a degree. You have Adonis Watson, Dwayne Skipwith, Christian Corbin, Antoine Vasquez. That front 4 is really good at generating pressure. If they don't have to blitz and they can get to the quarterback in Adonis Stowers, it can really disrupt the Phoebus offense. This is a game where both offenses are putting up good numbers. Warwick at 46-plus points per game, Phoebus at over 37 per contest, but you don't want to have negative plays or turnovers that leave to short fields for those teams to grind it out and get those quick scores. I think this game could very easily end scoreless, go into overtime. Warwick is fully capable of winning this game. It's not supposed to be a shocker or a big surprise, a stunner, an upset if they pull this off, in my opinion. But to do it, you've got to run the ball effectively, take some pressure off Eduardo Rios, who will see some pressure in his face, the quarterback who's been very, very sharp this year. Rajon Hammond's going to be key to that. I think the Phantoms can get one of those spark plays from either Keontae Gray or Davion Roberts or Paul Stephen Davis. And ultimately, what it boils down to me is the big game experience that Phoebus has in this spot. And I think with all the attention of Warwick with the shutouts, not having given up a touchdown outside of the kick return to begin the year to Grassfield, that there's a little motivation to show that they're still the top defense around. I've got it scored 13-7 Phantoms. Wouldn't be stunned to see it go to overtime. Wouldn't be stunned to see it go the other way. I think Warwick needs to get off to a good start and get in front on Phoebus to make them not necessarily abandon the run game, but have to alter their offensive strategy and deviate from the game plan to a degree in order to come out on top in this game. And the X factors on the outside to me are Delome for Warwick, who's got 5 picks this year, a couple of pick sixes. He's a big-time prospect who's got offers from all over the place. You name it, Michigan, Alabama, Virginia Tech, in-state schools, out-of-state schools, Power 5, SEC, Big Ten. He's got all those schools looking at him. And Keontae Gray for Phoebus, who I feel like is underrated to a degree and had a couple of big picks in that Oscar Smith win in the opener for the Phantoms, which was game 2 for the Tigers. So I feel like Phoebus gets this done, but if either defense can really wreck the game with a couple of turnovers, some sacks, some strip sacks, Reddick's going to be hard to block in this game for anybody. I think he can be a difference maker, but this should be a really, really fascinating matchup and one that's going to be worth checking out. Be over there, get there early if you plan to see the game. I think their tickets are just online, if I recall. Check your websites, check your social media pages for that. I know they're opening the gates at 10:30, I saw, for Warwick and Phoebus at Todd Stadium in Newport News on Saturday. In fact, we're going to alter our schedule for 757 Saturday Sports Talk and go a little earlier so that I can get there in time and get hopefully a nice spot in the press box way up there next to my good pals. I know Bill Nettles up there, the longtime announcer. May see my friend Dominic Velarde up there. And, of course, Marty O'Brien does a splendid job for the Daily Press and the local newspaper. So, should be a good one. I think that this is going to help both teams for the postseason. I do see some similarities from the Phoebus Oscar Smith showdowns the last couple of years. And remember, Phoebus lost one of those, went on to win a state championship. They've won 27 straight games now. This one is going to be really nip and tuck. And Phoebus is used to so many of these battles. Not that Warwick isn't, but to beat Phoebus, it's asking a lot. They haven't done it in an awful long time. And I just don't see this being that time for them to get it done. They can make it happen. It wouldn't shock me, but I think the safer pick here is Phoebus in this spot. As you look at the head-to-head battles, Warwick played with them for a little bit last year in that game. But scoring on them, sustaining drives is going to be awful tough. And special teams can swing this. You know, a block kick here, something in that department of special teams can really be something that can serve one of these two teams well in the matchup. But as far as the last time that Warwick got it done against the Phoebus Phantoms, you got to go all the way back to 2001 when they had a guy named Vick at quarterback. So it's a lot of losses in a row, a lot of L's. And if they can get up a couple scores on them, now things become interesting. So that's going to do it for this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. We almost went a full hour here. This was a lot of fun here. We're getting closer to the playoffs. Come next week, we'll have some projections for you, some pairings. We'll see how it goes, as it'll be a really fun one here coming up here. And I see someone posting in there, War Hills Jerome Rhodes on the road for a perfect season. He absolutely is. And you know what? I think they're forgotten about a lot in Region 4A. Hey, all the guests that have come on with me, their teams have won. Now, coaches, I don't know if we can put that with Antoine Bethea, Denbigh alum, as they're taking on here on a Thursday night, an interesting one coming up with the Menchville Monarchs. But we'll do it again sometime. Next week it'll be. Thank you for tuning in on our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we will talk to you again real soon here from the Plex.